Mary, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, like your name, your parents, if you remember them, your grandparents, and where you were born?
I was born Mary Margaret Hearn, and I was born in Trinity Square. My father was Michael Hearn. He was born in Knockby, and when he was 4 they moved to Costelloes Lane, and I met my mother, and she was Anne Clooney from Cannon Street, and they had 11 children, and I remember my grandparents, Anne and Michael Hearn as well. They lived in Costelloes Lane, and my grandfather was a blacksmith, and he got my father to do the trade, and my father was also a blacksmith. I don't know the name of the lane, but the back of Green Street, I call it.
I think they call it, Mary, the back lane. That's what I would have known, the back lane, yeah.
That's where the forge was, yeah.
Mary, where were you born?
Trinity, I was born in Trinity Square.
Trinity Square. And so you weren't born obviously in a hospital. How many were you in your family, Mary?
11.
11 brothers and sisters?
Yes.
How many rooms did you have in your house, Mary?
On the Lower Yellow Road, 1 bedroom and a loft.
And
we didn't sleep in a bed. We slept on the mattress on the floor up in the loft.
Yeah.
And my mother and father and the rest of the kids were down in the bedroom.
So how many were upstairs, you say?
Oh God, I'd say about 6.
And
the rest were downstairs.
Downstairs, great.
2 double beds in the bedroom, downstairs. But it was the happy times, like we had great times on the Lower Yellow Road and Dial Street, and playing skipping and playing beddies and playing knocks, and school now, the nuns were, I needn't tell you the nuns.
Yeah, you go to what school did you go to?
Mercy.
Mary, as a matter of fact, did you have an inside or outside toilet?
No, we had an outside toilet, we had an outside tap, and we had, my father used to always whitewash the walls out in the back garret.
Can you remember, Mary, was it a flush toilet?
It was with a big chain on it. Yeah.
And was a tap inside your house or outside your house?
Outside, out by the toilet.
Right. So you said, Mary, you went to school. What school did you go to?
I went to the Mercy until I was about 11, and then we moved to Cannon Street and I went to the Presentation.
Presentation, right. And did you like school? I think you indicated.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. So you didn't get on well with the nuns?
No.
And what about the lay teachers, like the teachers, the women who were?
Yeah, Mother Anthony was a lovely teacher.
Okay.
Miss Fitzgerald I didn't really like.
Okay, yeah.
And Mrs. Fox, no way.
Yeah, okay.
She was with a walking stick.
Yeah, well, they were more severe. The same in the boys' schools, Mary.
Yeah.
So, Mary, I tell you what we talk about. We talk about the pastimes. Like you said, you mentioned about playing beddies and that, and
they were lovely times.
Now, would you play like a lot? I remember up in Dial Street, all the girls on the poles with the rope on the poles.
Yeah, you'd go down and we'd try and get a few sixpence, I think it was. I'd go down to White's in O'Connell Street and get a length of rope and push it up the pole, and we'd be swinging around and pushing one another around. Then we'd play skipping, and we knew all the songs then about the skipping. Like,
Yeah.
You know.
Can you remember anything?
I can. In and there goes Jackie Bluebells. There's a lady on the mountain. And what's the other one? I can't remember the rest of them now, but there was a good few, yeah.
And beddies, could you explain a little bit about, because I know that younger people nowadays probably wouldn't know what beddies.
Beddies where you're right, 1 square, 2 squares, 1 square, 2 squares, and you get a little rock and you throw it, and you put the numbers on the squares, and you have to hop and skip, and then if you miss it, you're out.
Yeah.
You turn around, you come back down again. It was lovely now.
Yeah.
And the knocks now sitting on the footpath, and you'd have the knocks and throwing them up and trying to catch them.
And can you remember, Mary, where did you get those knocks? Was it a foundry?
No, we got the knocks down in a little shop in O'Connell Street.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But if we hadn't knocks, we'd pick up stones off the street and we throw the stones up and try and catch them.
Brilliant. Absolutely. Yeah. Same, because I'm from Dye Street, as you know, so it was very much the same.
Yeah.
Mary, what was your first job?
My first job was housework.
What age were you, Mary?
I think I was 14. Yeah, just.
And would that be would that been a full-time job then?
I think it was 5 or 6 days a week. I'm not sure now, but it was hard work.
Was that in your own house or someone else's house?
No, it was up Newtown somewhere.
Okay.
I remember that, but it was very hard work.
And you were 14?
14,
Yeah. And then what kind of jobs did you have as you got older?
I got a little job then in the Tower Hotel, because my father worked there. And then I went, I was cleaning bathrooms in the Tower Hotel, but I'm sure I hadn't a clue about bathrooms and that. So I went from there to Willie Watts and then the Jewel Factory.
And Willie Watts, what kind of factory was that?
Second bag.
And what was your job in there?
My job was shaking the bags and getting all the ones with the holes in them and giving them to the machinists. And,
okay.
You know, because the mice be running around and eating the bags.
Someone else said that to me, that the place was full of rats. Is that right?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
That
and the smell.
Huh? This bad smell?
Yeah, very bad smell.
And Mary, did you, I suppose then after a while, then you got married?
I did, I went to England actually, and I worked in Moll's factory in England.
All right.
The bacon factory. And I came home then and I got married and had the first child then.
Mary, I'm very interested in women's affairs, right? And I remember, like when I was young, that at the time you'd hear about some girl and getting pregnant, right? And the pressure from the family and from the church would mean that an awful lot of those girls and boys, you know, who just had in a relationship and would become pregnant and they weren't married, they would have to get married. But I believe that it was sort of like it was a terrible situation. Would you have known of anyone like that? We say that would have on those, and what happened? Where did they go? I believe they had to go to church at a special time and on their own. Could you explain a bit about that?
You had to get married very early in the morning, but it was mostly 9 o'clock in the night.
Okay.
And nobody in the church, only the 4, the bridesmaids, the best man and the couple getting married. And there was nobody there, just the priest marrying. And you're outside the altar. And if you didn't get married, you were sent down to court to have the baby. And I think the baby was adopted. Yeah. You know, so.
Hard times for women.
Very hard.
Very hard times for women, Mary.
You know, it was a sin, and like, you know, and
and I suppose like people forget that families had a big part in that because of Catholic morality. Most people who are Catholic, that's why I say that. The parents felt that this was an awful mark on the family.
I shamed the family. Like,
yeah. So Mary, did you drink when you were younger? And what age did you start drinking it?
I started. I would think I was just 17.
Yeah.
And I'd go down to, when we were going to the Olympia, I'd go into Kennedy's, that's where we all went.
Yeah. Where was Kennedy's, Mary?
Down the end of Alexander Street.
Oh, I know what,
Yeah, down there. And we'd all meet there and we'd have a glass of lager and lime and we'd be all excited then going down to the Olympia. And I think it was 5 shillings or something to get in at the time. And it was great now down the Olympia. We drove at the right hand side, the farmers on the left hand side, and you know, and it was really great now. It was lovely. It was great times.
And did you have a favourite show band, Mary?
I did. I had Dickie Rock, Butch Moore, he was brilliant, Butch Moore. The Royal Show Band. You know, that it was always packed for the Royal Show Band. We used to try and get up to the stage. Yeah. But we'd always sew buttons onto our stockings, the knee socks. Yeah. And we'd be like for the hucklebuck. And we'd be doing that with the sharp pleated skirts.
And Mary, did you, moving forward a bit, when you were older, when you were married and that, would you have voted if there was an election on?
Oh, I would, yeah. I would.
So any particular party, that's if you don't mind saying, what political party would you have voted for?
Well, my father was always Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael. I know Fine Fáil, I think it was always that. But then when I got older, I chose my own. I picked, Sinn
Sinn Féin?
Sinn Féin.
Yeah. A lot of people up the Dye Street area in that age. You had the Redmonites, a lot of them down Costelloes Lane area.
Yeah.
Then you had up to where I came from, up in the middle of Dye Street, was essentially Fianna Fáil or Sinn Féin. So there's a lot of that.
Yeah, it was Sinn Féin I voted for.
Mary, as you got older, I presume, did you go to mass? Were you a good mass goer or whatever like that?
I won't say I was a good mass goer. I'd go for certain things that were on. I'd go to mass.
Yeah.
But every time I go to mass, I'd go to communion.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't go to mass. I just go for anniversaries, weddings and things like that.
And when you were younger then, did you go to confession every weekend that you would?
I did, I had to. Because you could not tell my father a lie. He always found out lies were no-nos.
Yeah. Mary, would you remember the missions, or would you have been too young to remember?
I do remember the missions, yeah.
Could you remember enough to describe them?
They were a long thing. I think they had 2 things on them, and I think there was kind of a holy thing. I'm not sure.
Oh, that's because they were the Redemptorists and the Passionists. That's why there were different type of priests. They were the Redemptorists. That was the Redemptorists.
That's how I remember. Yeah.
But then they had, was it for the men and the women? Because you remember that they had different missions for men.
Yeah, they had the Legion of Mary as well.
Right.
And we used to have every year you'd have a big procession, and the Legion of Mary wore blue cloak things and a veil.
Yeah.
And we'd all wear our veil and walk behind them, and we'd always end up in the Mercy Convent around the grounds.
Was that the Corpus Christi, the one you used to go up Dye Street?
Yeah. Every house had put a statue out in the window. Every house had a statue out in the window.
So Mary, you eventually probably got married in that.
I did.
Yeah. And many kids have you?
5.
5 children.
5 children.
Yeah, 5 children. Boys or girls?
4 boys and 1 girl.
And you have a good few grandchildren, I presume?
I have 10.
10 grandchildren.
And I have 5 great grandchildren.
Mary, listen, unless you want to talk about anything else that you like to talk about back in the days around.
Back in the days, what I do remember is every Thursday, I think it was, we'd get sixpence and we'd go to a club. This was our a lovely night out. John's Avenue, down by the Apple Market.
Yeah.
There was a club down there, and just women used to run it. And we'd go down there every Thursday night and play sixpence. And we'd sew and we'd knit and do Irish dance and things like that. But what I did love was Christmas times when we had the bad winters and that. Every winter they'd take us out and we'd go around to the streets and we'd stand around the pole and we'd sing the carols, and the others would go to the hill knocking at the doors for the money. And we were brought back then, and they'd send out and bring in a load of chips and a big roaring fire, and we'd be all sitting around on the benches there.
Where was that, Mary, in John's Lane?
In the middle.
That's by the new park, is it?
No.
Or no, the lane down, I know John's Lane.
Yeah, John's Lane.
I know it now, yeah.
You know, in the middle there.
Yeah.
That was the club. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I never heard of that. Yeah.
Wouldn't miss it for the war.
Yeah, that was lovely.
David at sixpence. And going around the carols singing, it was lovely. And you had the candle in a thing, and it was light, and we stand around the poles. And
would that club be on the whole year round, Mary?
Yeah, the whole year round, yeah.
That's very good. I suppose they had the St. Joseph Boys Club then up on the Yellow Road too.
Right,
were you involved in that too, Mary? Did you go to that?
No, I didn't go to that. No, I didn't go to that.
So there was, but I suppose like most children at that time, the streets were their playground when we were smaller.
Always the street, the skipping on the street, as I said, the benches, the nooks and everything, like, you know. And
did you play Bucky Bano?
I did. And
Could you describe that Bucky Bear?
I can't now offhand as I don't know. I think I got knocked down playing that, and I ended up in the infirmary. And we used to play. Yeah, well, we'd call it hide and seek now. You know, we'd be hiding. And
Yeah.
we'd be hiding in all the doors and running around trying to catch one another. Like, you know.
Did you play stiff statues? Would you remember?
Played stiff statues.
Could you describe that one?
Yeah, you can't count or say something. You have to. And if you move, then you're out. Like, you know. But what I do remember now, it was lovely. When we lived on the Lower Yellow Road, every Sunday was our treat day, even though we hadn't much money or anything. My father and mother take us out to Ballyonasia. Now, Paddy Brown's Road looked so long, but up Slieve Keel, and they stop at Henneberry shop, and we'd get a Patsy Pop ice lolly, and my mother and father get an ice cream, and we'd go all the way out to Ballyonasia, and he'd take photos with his box camera, and we'd come back in again. Then Sunday night we were brought up to Costelloes Lane, and the men would have their bottle of Guinness, my Uncle Paddy, my grandfather, and my father, and the women would be sitting there. My grandmother was sitting on a little chair, and they put the old gramophone thing. Oh, it was lovely. And we'd have to do Irish dancing. And my Uncle Paddy get out on the floor, why did he do a hornpipe? He was brilliant at doing the hornpipe.
Glorious times, man.
Yeah,
Glorious times.
Yeah. Never had a Christmas tree. Never. My father made his own decorations, but they were happy and safe times.
Do you remember, Mary? I can't remember Christmas. Would you believe that?
Oh, I remember
and
Christmas.
do you remember? Like, could you explain the type of ties? Because I think the two of us would have probably gotten the similar. No, you would have gotten girls' ties. I would have gotten
Yeah,
ties.
we'd get the Shinley dolls. Me and my sister would get the Shinley dolls.
Yeah.
The boys
What's that? What's a Shinley doll?
A Shinley doll is a naked doll.
Okay.
You know, they were called. They were a shilling.
Okay.
So we get the Shinley doll.
Yeah.
And we were put to bed early, and my mother had come up and not Christmas socks, just ordinary big socks, and she put an apple, an orange, a sixpenny bit, and I think it was a couple of sweets on top, and she put them all at the end of the bed. Well, we had the beds on the mattress, you know, and we'd wake up real early in the morning. It was lovely now, like, you know, and she'd make the Christmas puddings and have them hanging from the ceiling in the old flower bags, like, you know, but they were lovely.
Mary, just something that struck me there. We were talking. I forgot to ask you about, and that was about food. Like, you know, how many times a week? I find it hard to remember now back, but how many times a week would you have had meat in your dinner?
I think we had meat every day, but it was backbones, loin bones, handles, and chucks. You know, we always had a bit of meat, but eggs were a rarity. You know, we very seldom got an egg. I think at Easter now we'd be waiting for my father to crack the top off his 2 eggs, and he'd give one of us the top of the egg, like, you know, we'd be waiting. But no, the eggs now. Easter we'd get a full egg, you know, and then our Easter egg wasn't never in a box.
That's not a chocolate egg. That's a real egg.
That was a real egg. Then the Easter egg was never in a box. Yeah, in boxes then, just in a silver wrapper. And we'd keep the wrapper and we'd straighten it out and fold it up. And we always had a shoebox and kept our little treasures in it.
Yeah.
You know, we kept everything. And we'd go around then after Christmas to all the houses, about a week after Christmas. Have you got any old Christmas cards? They give us all the Christmas cards. And we give the ones with all the frost on it to the nuns. And we keep the rest ourselves and put them in our shoebox.
And what would the nuns use the frosted ones for? Can you remember?
I think they used to cut them out and make things with them, you know.
Yeah.
And there was a poor nun there, I can't remember her name now. She was nearly blind. We used to be trying to collect our bits of rosary beads for her, and she'd make a full rosary bead. She was always making rosary beads out of bits of rosary beads.
Right.
She was a lovely nun.
Yeah.
She was lovely now. Yeah.
I remember a lot of where I'm from, blind stews.
Oh, the blind stew.
Yeah, can you explain what a blind stew is?
Blind stew of no meat. Yeah, no meat.
Yeah.
And just kind of thick, and the potatoes to be thick, and just kind of whitish. Yeah.
And I still love them, Mary.
Lovely, yeah.
I still love
The blind stew, yeah.
So Mary, listen, that's absolutely brilliant. The stuff that you said today is absolutely brilliant. And thank you very much, Mary.
You're welcome.